All right, and we're back with another edition of the Scotty Knows Show. Tonight, our guest is. Do you mind if I call you Mr. Bauck?
I don't mind one bit. You can call me whatever is comfortable for you, sir.
Okay. It's Mr. Bauck. Could you please tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Rod Bauck. I am the high school choir director up at TF Riggs here in Pierre. I'm actually a Pierre boy. I was born here and I graduated here in '99. And I taught high school choir out West River in Belle-Fourche for 5 years. And then I had an opportunity to come home. And this is my 12th year here in this Pierre school district. So.
Okay. Well, you just answered one of my questions is how long have you taught? You kind of answered that a little bit.
Total, this is my 17th year of teaching. So.
Wow. You teach choir. I do have to wonder, what does a choir teacher do in the summer?
A lot of prep, actually.
Okay.
I'm always looking for music for my groups. And so throughout the summer, I'm always online. I'm always checking out music publishers. I'm always looking for new pieces, but then I'm also checking out other states' published lists just to see like how many pieces states have in common, to see what pieces are being repeated. And then that kind of tells me like, oh, these 10 states have had these pieces in their all-state or honors choirs. So they must be pretty reputable. And so I do a lot of that. This past summer, I was doing the music for Man of La Mancha for Pure Players. So.
Do you have like is there certain songs you can and you can't do?
Not really. I guess if you're kind of asking about sacred versus secular music, I've never really had an issue with that here. I do probably 50-50 of sacred and secular music. And my argument, if you want to call it that, my argument for sacred music is that I do it more for music history perspective,
Okay.
rather than the actual sacred setting. Now, to me personally, it may mean something because I have a spiritual life, and so I often tell my students, like, now to me, this sacred text means something, but I also approach the piece that I do from a historical perspective.
Okay. What do you like to listen to?
What do I like to listen to? I like to listen to lots of different stuff. Currently, I'm listening to a lot of jazz. I listen to a big band called the Bob Mintzer Big Band. It was something that was introduced to me in college when I was in college jazz band. It's like he does big band music. Glenn Miller and them were popular in the 40s, and he took that and he modernized it. So I like the fact that it's the big band sound, but for modern times. I love to listen to a lot of punk rock and ska.
Ooh.
Big time. Yep.
Okay.
I'm a punk rocker by heart. And I listen to some emo. That's a touchy term, especially for me. There are a lot of people that categorize emo that I feel they categorize it incorrectly.
Okay.
But listen to a lot of that. Growing up in the 90s, I listened to a lot of 90s rock and alternative rock. In the last year, I've kind of rebuilt my 90s collection of bands like Counting Crows, Gin Blossoms, Blues Traveler, the Spin Doctors, Live, Stone Temple Pilots, and I'm getting into that a lot again because all of that stuff was a part of pop radio when I was in high school.
Hell.
And now you don't hear a lot of rock music on pop radio. I mean, you hear it on rock stations and serious rock radio, but as far as pop radio in the Pierre area is concerned, all those bands and hip hop and pop, you all heard it on pop radio, and now you just hear the pop music.
Yeah. Do you I mean, I saw you mention Dashboard Confessional.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're one of those bands that I feel like I discovered due to their use in other forms of media. Like a One Tree Hill or something like that.
Yep. Yeah.
Them and Death Cab for Cutie.
Yep. Love Death Cab for Cutie.
Yep. Just so many great bands that you kind of discover in movies and in other like TV shows and stuff.
Well, and I'm glad that media can do that for bands like that. I'm glad that they can get exposure through those things, and then people can be introduced to that.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a good long while since the last time I've heard or discovered a song through like a TV show or movie. I think the last one that I can remember that got big off of their use in a movie was Lizzo got big after she was featured in I think it was Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
So that's the last one I can remember. But,
for me, I got into a lot of different stuff through the TV show Scrubs.
Ooh, okay.
There was a lot of, and after a while, I would search on the internet Scrubs episode and then music, and I would find, the songs that they played. And that would be, all sorts of different stuff. And then How I Met Your Mother, they had some good music as well. And I remember, like, a lot of times, on reruns, I'd be like, oh, this episode's on again. This has a really good closing song. That'd be kind of the way I would approach it.
Before we got on, I was listening to have you ever heard or seen this Punk Goes Pop series?
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Do you have a favorite cover from one of those?
I don't know if this was actually featured on one of them or not. And I can't remember the name of the band. For some reason, the name Life on Repeat is sticking in my head.
Okay.
But whatever band it was, they did the best cover of Miley Cyrus' Party in the USA.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I love that. I love that cover. It's punk, but it also has some almost metal type breakdowns in it. While being pop punk, in nature and feel as well. And that's probably one of my favorites.
I personally love the yellow card cover of Everywhere by Michelle Branch.
That's a good one. Yep. That's a really good one. I dig that.
Yeah, that and basically anytime A Day to Remember does something, I love it. So
you ever listen to Me First and the Gimme Gimmes?
I have not, but that sounds interesting.
They're nothing but a cover band, and it's like a super group cover band. It's members of the band No Effects and Swingin' Utters and Lagwagon, and all they do, they have like, I don't know, 6 or 7 albums.
Okay.
And they have an album of 70s covers, and they have an album of 80s covers, and an album of Broadway covers, an album of divas. And it's
interesting.
Absolutely fantastic.
Do you remember when Metallica had their cover album?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they had Turn the Page, which I think was like the big one.
Yep.
Off
Turn
of
the
that.
Page. Whiskey in the Jar, I think.
Yep, that's it. Yeah.
Yep. Then they had some, at least what I felt at the time, were more obscure covers. They had a couple Misfits covers on there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a great cover album.
All right. So one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show is I believe you're a wrestling fan.
I am a big wrestling fan. You're correct. Much to the chagrin of my family, and maybe a little bit to the chagrin of my wife. But I am a big pro wrestling fan. You know, I call it the male soap opera.
Yeah, that's what I forget who it was. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was CM Punk, but it was somebody. I saw like a documentary or something, and no, it was Shawn Michaels' dad that called it the exact same thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a soap opera for men. And you
Yeah.
know, it has their storylines, and sometimes they're predictable, and sometimes they can throw you for a swerve. And you know, and I mean, yeah, like I think when I was little, we all have that part where it's like it's real,
Yep.
and you want it to be real, and then you know you figure out it's not. And but you also figure out that while it's not real, there are real repercussions from it. I mean, you know, they do get hurt for real when things go incorrect, and I don't think people always fully understand that.
They can die.
Yeah.
Owen Hart, prime example.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good example.
How long have you been a wrestling fan?
Oh man, we're gonna go back to the late '80s.
Oh, okay.
You know, when you know Hulk Hogan was huge in the '80s. I remember the old Vern Gagne AWA territory in
Ooh.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
My dad actually took my brother and my stepsister at the time, took us to a local wrestling show there. It was AWA. And I remember, I specifically remember Adrian Adonis was there. And then what I remember biggest is Kurt Hennig was there.
Ooh.
And I believe, I mean, it was AWA, so it was as Kurt Hennig, not necessarily as Mr.
Yep.
Kurt. And my brother and stepsister had gone to get refreshments or something, and when they came back, they were just on cloud nine because they said, you know, we met some wrestlers and we slapped high five, and of course, you know, me being the little brother, I got jealous, and so my dad took me, and he took me by the wrestlers entrance, and Kurt Hennig was walking out with a security person, and as he walked out, I put my hand out to slap high five, but he was in character and he's a heel. And he looked at me, and I can't remember exactly what he said. My dad remembers, but he basically like called me, you know, what do you want, you little shit, you know, or something like that. And of course it made me cry. You know, I mean, what am I? I'm 7 years old at this time or something like that. And anyway, my dad said that the security guard took his little billy club and kind of thumped him on the back of the head, like, you know, don't treat a kid like that. But that was that was my interaction.
Oh my goodness.
with AWA and Kurt Hennig. That's actually the only live wrestling show that I've ever been. But yeah, and I remember that. You know, and I just remember, you know, watching like Saturday Night Main Event. And I remember, you know, there always seemed to be some sort of Saturday morning wrestling show. You know, whatever the name was for whatever territory, but they're always, I mean, I just remember Saturdays being synonymous with wrestling, especially before Monday Night Raw and the Monday Night Wars hit. You know, Saturday was the big day.
I distinctly remember watching, I think it was WCW Saturday night, and watching I think it was probably Rey Mysterio. While my dad was trying to sell cows at the Fort Pierce stock, you know, the stock yard. I distinctly remember that. I don't know why, but I do. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers?
Oh man, Ricky Steamboat. You know, and a lot of people reference the Macho Man Ricky Steamboat match of WrestleMania 3. I mean, that's just kind of a benchmark match.
The Flair trilogy.
Yup. Let's see. Ricky Steamboat, Bret Hart.
Okay.
He was a good technician. Um, you know, just longevity and the fact that he made everything work. The Undertaker. I mean, just look at everything that he's done. Rey Mysterio, WCW and WWE. Love what he does. Love how he does it. Was a big fan of the Hardy Boys.
Okay.
Even back to their days as the Brood, and I really loved in the last pay-per-view for WWE. I really loved that Edge did the throwback entrance
Mm-hmm.
to the Brood, and
I love that.
I thought that was great. It was a fan's nod. I mean, it really was, and I was correct in assuming it wasn't really going to go anywhere. Like, I mean, it wasn't going to stick with him, afterwards. But I'm glad they just kind of did that little wink,
Yeah.
of that. I thought that was really cool. I don't know. Yeah, those are probably some of my favorites. Being a teenager, totally caught up in the NWO storyline.
Oh yeah.
And the whole takeover, and it's interesting when I watch it now as an adult. Like, I still love it, but I don't recall it being as unstructured, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I watch it now and I'm thinking, really, they did, like, that's how it went down. But the whole Sting, kind of mimicking the Crow that had come out at the time.
Yep.
Really intrigued by that, and I also I love the fact that people at WCW and Sting himself were so committed to that character and that story arc. I mean, the guy didn't speak for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time to keep that going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and again, you look at like the Undertaker, he's done things forever, and I mean, he's kept up his character, true blue all the way. But I mean, Sting did not. Everything he did was action.
Yeah.
And that was really intriguing, especially at that time, in the mid '90s.
Do you listen to any other like wrestling podcasts? Like, for instance, I know 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. He has a story where supposedly the reason why Sting didn't win the title clean at Starrcade 97 was because he wasn't tan enough or something. Like, that's the joke that he was going for. And it's like what? Like Conrad Thompson got on, like, really? You didn't give him the title because he didn't have a good enough tan?
Well, and then the things that I've found, it all comes back to Hogan not wanting to job it out, and I could see that as being legitimate. I mean, Hogan being the persona of wrestling for as long as he was, and you kind of get used to that, and I don't know. And then the only thing that bothered me is when, after Sting did speak, just slowly on the decline after that, and when he went into the NWO Wolfpack, that just kind of, I don't know, talk about a 180-degree turn from Crow Sting.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I mean, it's just a stretch that, NWO splits into the two factions. Then there's NWO 2000, and there's the notorious finger poke of doom, and just.
I weirdly enough love tomato can Sting, is what I call him, the red and black Sting. I liked it.
Okay.
So some AEW talk here. So many debuts at All Out this weekend. Adam Cole debuted. Bryan Danielson debuted. That's the first time I've said his name without actually calling him Daniel Bryan, so I'm hooray for me. Ruby Soho debuted, and Minoru Suzuki debuted. He's actually going to be in the main event tonight.
Okay.
So yeah, all of those debuts, holy moly.
Honestly, I gotta say good for AEW.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And I love the WWE product, and I always will, but I'm glad there's a bigger contender in the wrestling. I mean, TNA was always kind of there, and they,
Still are.
and they were doing their thing, but I mean, AEW can really, and they're already starting to. They kind of stepping up toe to toe with WWE, and a little bit like WCW and WWE. I don't think we're at quite a Monday Night Wars type of competition yet, but
We're getting there.
we're getting there. And it's just interesting to me how many former WWE guys have gone over to AEW, and I'm just thinking, like, whether you're letting on or not, like WWE, you gotta be seeing this. You
Yeah.
gotta be seeing what they're doing with your former talent and how they're doing it. And you gotta either say it doesn't bother me, or you gotta think, okay, maybe I dropped the ball with this talent here. I think the biggest one that surprised me was Malachi Black. When they let him go, I thought, oh, that's going to be a regret.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that I noted, I actually noted 4 things, my 4 takeaways from All Out. Number 1 was Bucks versus the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros. That was the match of the night by far.
Yep.
By far. Ruby Soho just seems happy, and I love that. Like you see genuine happiness whenever she talks to people. Like when she stepped up for the media scrum at the end, she just seems so happy. I love to see that. And on top of that, that introduced me to the Rancid song. I did not know that was an actual.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I love this song.
Yeah. That was 95, and Out Come the Wolves. That album, that classic, man.
Oh yeah. Paul White wrestled in like a 4-minute match. It was what it was. And then CM Punk was back. He looked a little bit slow, but probably trying to get his sea legs back. Weirdly enough, tonight he came out in the heel tunnel, so I don't know what that's about. So keep that. Then again, at the end he was kind of confused on what tunnel he should come out of or go into after his match at All Out. He was like, do I go through this left tunnel? Do I go through this tunnel on the right? He eventually left through the tunnel on the right, but he came out tonight on AEW in the heel tunnel. So I don't know what to make of that yet.
CM Punk, honestly, he can go either way.
Yeah.
And he can be one of those heels that you're a heel, but people love you.
Oh yeah.
And there's, WWE, the guy that rides that line really well is Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
And he's said on numerous occasions he prefers being a heel. I don't think he necessarily dislikes being a face. But when they turn him face, I think he does a really good job of being that sort of, like, I'm going to equate him to like Batman. He's the anti-hero. I don't know. I think he does that really well, and he's probably the only one in WWE who can do that well.
Yeah.
And right now the RK Bro is gold.
I love it.
I dig it. And I mean, everyone knows in the back of their mind what they can do with the RK Bro split whenever they want it to happen. And it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great storytelling, because it's got Randy Orton involved, and people, half the build can be people, speculating he's going to burn him. He's going to burn him. He's going to burn him, because they know that pattern, and they can let that play out as long as they want to. And Randy will make it gold. And Riddle, his comedy chops are just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The only other comedy guy And I wish this comedy guy would have had a little bit more of a mid-card, upper mid-card run, but Santino Marella,
Oh,
he was,
I thought you were gonna go R-Truth there for a second.
R-Truth is there. But even R-Truth had a more decorated career than Santino did.
Mm-hmm.
He's had mid-tier championships and things like that. There was a time I thought maybe he was going to make it in that world title sort of level.
2011.
Yeah, obviously they didn't go that route with him. But at just pure comedy, Santino Marella, and I mean he dove into everything that he did, and he did it really well.
I don't know if it was at NWA Empower 2 weeks ago or whenever that was. I think his daughter is wrestling now.
I think you're right. I think she is.
Yeah. Which is just makes me feel super old every time I see somebody who I grew up watching. They have a kid wrestling. Like what? Like
Yeah.
when I first saw Brian Pillman Jr., I was like, oh my God, no. Because that was my first action figure.
Oh geez.
Yeah. Was the kind of the lunatic version of Pillman from like 97.
And again, he's another great one. I mean, think of the lunatic version, Brian Pillman,
Mm-hmm.
but then go before that to Flying Brian Pillman
with the Cincinnati Bengals trunks.
Yeah, and I love that people can make that change.
Or the Hollywood blondes.
Yeah, well, and like another person, I mean, who was Bray Wyatt before he was Bray Wyatt? He was freaking Husky Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't doing much, wasn't going anywhere. I mean, he was playing his part. He had a brief cameo, so to speak, in the new Nexus.
Okay, this is ironic. As soon as we're talking about him, Brian Pillman Jr. is on TV right now.
Actually, I thought you were going to say, as we were talking about him, Bray Wyatt just debuted.
Oh, no,
you were going to say that.
No. Pillman, I think Pillman's wearing his dad's jersey or something, because they're in Cincinnati. So not trying to do AEW commentary while we're doing this, but I have it on.
No problem.
Some WWE talk. What did you think of Raw on Monday?
I didn't catch it. Whenever I don't catch it, I follow up with online WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
I watch a lot of those recap videos. I think the hour-long tag team turmoil thing,
I loved it.
And I think
love that.
The
tag team turmoil.
I think that was needed, just because of how their shows have been going as of late. Their shows have been really inconsistent. And there's always been a few good nuggets in every show, but I mean, as a 3-hour show product, there's just a lot of inconsistency lately in it. I don't know. For me, it goes back to, you see all the people that WWE has been letting go, and they go to AEW, and I'm just like, who are you guys falling back on? And it comes to people like, well, there's money to be made with Goldberg and Brock Lesnar and that, and it's just like, how much more can Goldberg do? No offense to the guy. No offense to the guy, but and you're gonna find yourself in a place where you're gonna need someone, and you could have had all these, younger people, and some of the, I mean, hopefully they're giving Finn Balor a redeeming push.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was doing great things when he was the first Universal Champion, and it was an unfortunate accident, that he got put on the shelf for a while. I thought he was great. I thought Neville in the cruiserweight division. I thought he was fantastic. I was kind of bummed, when they weren't doing anything with him. I thought Ricochet is great. And yeah, some of these guys are smaller guys. But I always find it interesting. Who does Brock Lesnar like working with?
The smaller guys.
He likes working with the smaller guys. And I don't think it's purely out of necessity to make him look good. I just think he likes to tell stories with those smaller guys. A couple years ago, his match with Daniel Bryan was fantastic.
And even AJ.
Yeah. Well, and I loved his match with the Mysterios, and Dominic getting involved, and yeah, I really enjoy those things. And it's just, I don't know, WWE just seem inconsistent. It hasn't gotten a lot of good credit on like WrestleMania, but I personally love Alexa Bliss's character.
I am very intrigued on what they're going to do, because I think it's been made official. They're going to have a match where it's her versus Charlotte for the title. Yep. I'm very intrigued on that.
I was bummed out for Nikki ASH. I thought, I thought when she cashed in and then got the title, I thought, okay, here's a new female they can run with for a while. And I think, unfortunately, for her, the fans just lost interest really quick. And when
I mean, I think they're trying to keep Charlotte happy, because I mean, her dad's gone, her husband or fiance, he's gone.
Andrade's gone. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We would like to wish Triple H best of luck in his recovery. He had what is being described as a cardiac issue.
Oh man.
Yeah. So he had to have surgery. Surgery was a success from what I've heard. But yeah, that explains a little bit about some things. But
did that news break today?
Yeah, that broke today. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't watch NXT last night, but I don't know if I really missed anything. So,
yeah.
But it looks like we could have yet another, and it's actually being expected that this happens, another WWE superstar leaving for AEW when his contract expires in January 2022. I'm talking about Kevin Owens.
Ooh.
Yes. He has been hinting at rejoining the Mount Rushmore that he created or helped create in PWG. That would be him, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks. So he would be part of the Elite.
Okay.
So that might happen. Your thoughts?
Good for him. Good for him. Again, another thing where I think WWE is dropping the ball a little bit, because whatever capacity he's on the show in WWE, whether it's a bit part or even when he did commentary, a couple of weeks back, he always does a great job. He always fills whatever the role is really well. And I mean, he can play in the undercard well. He can play in the mid card well. He can elevate the undercard titles, like your United States and Intercontinental Championships. He can elevate those really well, and he can play in the championship picture. And they should know that. They took a play with him for a while when he was Universal Champion, and I thought he did well with it. It's always interesting to me, the people that they give decent runs with the championship, but then after that they don't keep them in that upper echelon. And I mean, you don't have to keep them in there, month after month, but like in the course of a year, bring that person back into that title picture, whether they actually go for it or not.
Yeah. I haven't seen the full list, but the PWI 500 was released. I did see number 1 and I saw number 2. Who do you think would be the number 1 wrestler this past year of all
Number one
companies?
in all the companies. Oh man. I don't even know how I could guess.
I'll just say it. Number
Yeah.
1 was Kenny Omega.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 2 was Roman Reigns.
All right.
Oh boy, somebody is getting a strongly written letter from Stamford, Connecticut. Oh my goodness. Your thoughts?
I'm okay with it. I honestly think it could go either way.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because Roman, I think ever since he came back, with the heel run that he's been on, he has been better than even I could have expected a heel run for Roman Reigns could be.
I always knew a heel run was going to do good for him. Especially after, how many years in a row WWE was just trying to put babyface Roman on us. There's these rumblings like in the WrestleManias and ProWrestling.com and that eventually at some point they're going to turn him around and run him as a face again.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope he doesn't lose the momentum that he's had through being a heel. Because again, and this just didn't happen as much. Well, it didn't happen in the 80s, because in the 80s things were very clear. You had your good guys and your bad guys, and people rooted for the good guys and booed the bad guys, and that was how it was done. Going into the 2000s and especially into like 2010s, you talk about audience having power. Man, can they make or break something, and especially if they don't like something. It's almost like in some cases when audiences get selfish, and it's like sometimes it's like, audience, come on, remember, they're putting on a show. Like, you can't always have your cake and eat it too, and I know you want to. But I mean, there's the thing that's brought up is the whole yes movement, and I mean that was fan driven all the way. And then when fans hijack shows, and even on a pay-per-view, and you're watching a women's match and you can hear in the background, boring, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to go that far. Like, okay, not the greatest match in the world, but I'm still entertained. I'm still paying attention to the story with this particular match.
I don't remember. It might have been that Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view, which, good Lord, the fact that I just said Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. But there was an Iron Man match between I think it was Rollins and Ziggler, and the thing was they kept putting the clock up, and everybody, like, every time it counted down, by minute, the crowd would go 3, 2, 1, and like it was a Royal Rumble match. And I'm like, oh gosh. And then the crowd just did not care at all about the Roman Reigns match, which I can tell you from personal experience what it's like being at a WrestleMania that Roman Reigns has main evented. I was at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas.
Nice. Okay.
And I was on the floor, and when he came out, as loud as they cheered Stone Cold coming out that night, they booed just as much for Roman. They booed him so hard to the point where I remember very distinctly there was a woman that was sitting behind me that was like, in like a kind of a Louisianan accent, like, let's go, Roman. And like everybody looked behind, like looked at this woman like, what are you doing? So Yeah, that's what it's like. That was what it was like in peak Roman being shoved down our faces kind of
Yep.
time.
But no, I agree with you. His heel stuff is gold. I think it's fantastic. I'm really intrigued to see what they're gonna do with Paul Heyman between
Yeah.
Lesnar and Reigns. I and in everything that I've read and heard, at this point, Lesnar's the face.
Yep.
And so I think that's interesting because we haven't had face Lesnar since his first time in WWE in 2002, 2003. So I think that's interesting. I'm curious to see what they do with him with Lesnar without Paul Heyman,
Yeah.
being kind of that mouthpiece. Because I really think something can be done, and I really think Brock can hold his own, in a certain way, and he doesn't need to hold it with promos. I mean,
No.
that guy can hold his own, with looks, with action. It makes me think. I can't remember exactly what time it was when Chris Jericho came back to WWE, and it was when he started debuting that kind of light up jacket.
Oh, like 2007-ish, 2008-ish, 9-ish, something like that.
Down there. And he came out, and it was like for 3 weeks in a row, he came out, but he didn't say anything. He just worked the crowd, getting the crowd to be, all about Jericho, and then he just left people hanging, and I think Lesnar can do something in a similar vein, not obviously the same way that Jericho did, but I mean he can let his actions speak for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically all I had for you tonight. Do you have any closing questions or anything?
Let's see.
Actually, I have one question for you because I'm recording 2 different interviews tonight.
Okay.
In the other interview, we're going to do a one-hit wonder draft.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so we're going to pick one-hit wonders from each decade, from 70s to the 2010s. So one-hit wonder from each decade. What are some of your favorite one-hit wonders?
Oh man. In the 70s, probably gonna have to go with Afternoon Delight.
Yeah.
Probably another one-hit wonder. I can't remember the name of the artist, but it's Hot Shot in the City. But looking pretty.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
I like that song a lot as a one-hit wonder. In the 80s, again,
80s is tough.
I
80s is tough.
Can't think of the name of the group, but it's female, and I love I Am the Warrior.
Scandal.
Heartache.
Scandal. It's Patti Smith and Scandal.
Yep. And I think that's a one-hit wonder. I don't believe they.
It's in the VH1 list. I'll say that much.
Yep. I love that song. Kind of a dark horse when you talk about one-hit wonders, but love it absolutely. 90s, because I grew up with it, and it makes me laugh to this day. Barbie Girl.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Because there was like a 3-month period where
there was,
also in the 90s, and they had a lesser known hit. Well, I mean, it received radio play, but I don't know if it was a hit. So that's why I'm going to place these guys in one-hit wonder category. But LFO, Abercrombie Fitch,
Summer Girls, yeah. Yeah, they had Summer Girls, and then they had a Girl on TV.
TV,
which I believe was about Jennifer Love
for
Hewitt.
Love Hewitt. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Party of Five.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess after that, going into the 2010s and now, I'm not really sure. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I don't know
Two,
that.
2000s is kind of difficult, but 2010s, there just wasn't enough good music.
No, I agree.
There wasn't. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, who are you going to pick other than, like, what, maybe Somebody That I Used to Know by Godier?
Yeah. That's about the only one I can think of.
Yeah, that's literally probably the only one anybody can think of. But
that was like 2011.
Yeah.
So that's early on in that decade.
Yeah. And some people consider her a one-hit wonder. I say those people are wrong. I love Carly Rae Jepsen. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she had the song with Owl City. I have cousins that live in Owatonna, Minnesota that literally grew up like down the block from Adam Young, the guy from Owl City. So it's like, I mean, of course I would know that song, but yeah.
Did you say friends in Owatonna or relatives?
Oh, relatives.
Relatives in Owatonna. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have knowledge of Owatonna.
Yep.
Okay. What movie in the mid 90s was filmed in Owatonna?
Mid 90s. It's not Fargo.
No. It featured the song JAR by Green Day on the soundtrack.
Oh.
Also featured You Gave Your Love to Me Softly by Weezer.
Not Reality Bites. I think that was Seattle.
Remember the movie Angus?
I don't.
You ever heard of that movie?
I haven't, actually.
Oh, that's a good one. It's and yeah, my cousins and aunt and uncle at the time lived in Owatonna. They lived in Owatonna for quite a while, and we watched that movie one night, and they were like, "Yep." And the opening sequence was a legit Owatonna high school Huskies football. And
my goodness,
they had footage of the flag corps and the band, and they were like, "Yep, we know that person and that person."
There are several movies that I've seen that I've been to the film location for. I mean, everything that's filmed in South Dakota, I've basically been there. When I was in high school, they filmed National Treasure 2, which interrupted our prom. We usually have our prom at Mount Rushmore. So we had to move our prom to Rapid City instead. Thanks, Disney. And then there's
okay, so about that, then this must be a myth because I heard about that prom being moved.
Yeah.
When Book of Secrets, was happening. So here's the myth portion. I had heard that because it was moved, I heard that whomever in charge of that movie, that the studio like covered your guys' prom.
Disney did, yeah. Disney
did.
did.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
So okay, that is true.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's a movie, I think it's called Bad Grandpa. It's like Johnny Knoxville dressing up as a grandpa.
Yep.
The opening scene where he's like at a pop machine. I'm not gonna say what he's doing at the pop machine, but
yep.
Yeah, I actually, like, there was a game at the University of Nebraska that I went to, and then the next morning I woke up and walked to the same gas station, and then like a couple months later, that movie comes out, and I'm like, what? So yeah, that movie was filmed in parts of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Very cool.
Yeah.
A couple things for you before we sign off here, getting back to the wrestling a little bit. Just briefly, give me some thoughts that you have on Keith Lee.
Ooh. Talk about an underutilized talent.
Absolutely.
definitely underutilized, which something I didn't mention. I've been meaning to say it. Jeff Hardy trying to chase after for the 24/7 championship. Just let the man leave. Just let him go. He's too much of a legend to be chasing after the 24/7 championship.
I agree.
But Keith Lee, ever since he came back, I feel like his comeback or his push or whatever you want to call it has been kind of stunted a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's been inconsistent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Karrion Kross.
Oh my gosh.
Think they're killing him?
They are. They 100% are. And it's gotten to the point where Mick Foley even told them in a Facebook video yesterday that WWE has a problem and they don't know how to make new stars or something like that. And Karrion Kross, by all accounts, from everything I've seen from him, you know, back when he was Killer Kross in Impact, all the way up until now, I like everything I see. The thing I need from him is I need Scarlett back.
I agree. Just to keep things rolling, you think they're actually going to elevate Damian Priest beyond the United States Championship?
That is possible. I mean, seeing him having these good matches against Sheamus and Drew McIntyre tells me that they see something in him. And that is that's interesting. Right now he feels like an early Roman Reigns type. Like he reminds me a lot of Roman Reigns, like in his early years. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he needs a little bit more seasoning, even though he's been around forever. Like there's footage of him from like developmental days being like a security guard. But yeah, I mean, I need to see just a little bit more from him before I put him in that Universal WWE Championship picture.
I hope they can do something with Asuka whenever she comes back.
Yeah. Where's she been?
I have no idea. Something I saw, there was a picture that while she has time off, the picture showed her in a sling.
Oh God, she's injured. Oh no,
might have an injury, but I don't know about that or not.
What in the world are they gonna like? They're gonna have to explain Sasha Banks. They're gonna have to explain what the heck what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know. And then on the SmackDown side, when Bayley got injured, that was a blow.
Yeah, a huge blow.
I can't say. I mean, even though there's going to be the rematch, they should have had an actual match between Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, not a squash. Mm-hmm. Even though it was set up to turn Becky heel. Oh,
yeah,
that was just terrible.
And you knew something was up when what did Cole call that move? It's like
the manhandle slam.
Yeah, the manhandle slam. You knew something was up when they had a name for a move we had never seen before.
Right, because I was going to say, because I'm like, I've never heard them mention this before. So, and it's what is it? The female version of the rock bottom?
Yeah.
Is that basically what it is?
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed are that I'm kind of a little bit sad about Adam Cole leaving for AEW is we don't get to see a continuation of his feud with Pat McAfee on SmackDown.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Honestly, with him leaving, man, I was really looking forward to Undisputed Era, hopefully debuting as a group on either show. Yeah, just because they were so huge in NXT, and they were on top of NXT for like what, a year and a half. I mean,
maybe 3 years almost.
Oh God, yeah, it was awesome. They were so good.
But
last one.
By the way, I forgot to say we'd like to send our best wishes to the family of Daphne as well.
Oh,
She unfortunately passed away. I think it was Friday night, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, she had that video on Instagram where she threatened to harm herself, and then the next morning she was gone.
oh man.
Yeah. So that and I hate to put you on a down note there, but yeah, WWE is offering free counseling services for their wrestlers, which is nice to see.
That's good. Last one. I really want to see them give her something. Liv Morgan.
Yes. I'm going to say this now. Liv Morgan will win the Royal Rumble in 2022.
Bold.
Yeah. I think people are getting behind her enough. Sasha Banks has even said that Liv Morgan is one of the people she wants to feud with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
I mean,
she's totally proving herself. Totally proving herself.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming on, and I'm sure I'll probably be at one of your concerts or something that you guys might have. Do you have any concerts coming up soon?
The first one coming up will be Monday, October 18th. So
Okay.
Still a ways out, but that'll be our first one. And I will talk wrestling with you anytime, sir.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a great night, sir.